Jimin sent a voice note to Jungkook. The last line broke him. "Don't come looking for me, Jungkook. And if you do, don't trust what you find." The voice crackled through Jungkook's earbuds, distorted slightly by wind or maybe the trembling in Jimin's voice. It wasn't just a message. It was a warning, a farewell, a curse. Jungkook stood frozen in the dim corridor of the old train station, the stale scent of metal and mildew pressing in around him like a second skin. The voice note ended with a static-laced silence that felt louder than the message itself. He replayed the last sentence, over and over again. "Don't trust what you find." Jungkook's thumb hovered over the replay button for the 5th time, but his breath caught, chest tightening like a fist clenched too long. That line wasn't just cryptic, it was terrified. And if Jimin was scared, truly scared, something was horribly wrong. A week ago, Jimin disappeared. No explanations, no goodbyes, just vanished from his apartment, leaving behind a half-drunk cup of coffee and his phone, locked, except for that one unsent voice note, scheduled to deliver exactly 168 hours later. Now, Jungkook stood alone, heart pounding like a war drum in his chest, as the echo of Jimin's voice seemed to bleed into the cold walls around him. The station was empty. Too empty. The last train had passed an hour ago, and the lights overhead flickered with the kind of inconsistency that always meant something in horror films. But this wasn't fiction. Jungkook wasn't just searching for a missing friend. He was chasing a shadow that had begun to blur at the edges of reality, Jimin's shadow, and he had no idea what waited for him at the end of it. His fingers clenched into fists as he walked toward the last place Jimin had pinged his location, a decommissioned subway tunnel beneath Line 6, sealed off after an accident 15 years ago. Officially, it was uninhabitable, unstable. But unofficially, it had a reputation for strange disappearances, echoes that didn't match any human voice, and stories of people seeing their own doppelgangers before going mad. Jungkook didn't believe in ghosts, but he believed in Jimin. And right now, Jimin sounded like he was being haunted. The descent into the tunnel was steep, the metal rungs icy against Jungkook's palms. Each breath he took was ragged, laced with the sharp tang of rust and something else, something sweet and rotten, like fruit left too long in the sun. The phone in his pocket buzzed. Unknown number, stop. He stared at it, no name, no contact, no trace. Unknown number, don't answer the voice. His hands trembled. He hadn't told anyone where he was going. Another buzz. Unknown number, it's not him anymore. His stomach turned. The screen dimmed in his palm, but the warning burned behind his eyes like a brand. Not him. What did that even mean? He reached the bottom of the shaft. The tunnel stretched ahead in darkness, a yawning mouth that seemed to breathe on its own. He turned on his flashlight. Dust floated like ash in the beam, swirling around his boots with every step forward. He walked deeper, following the ghost of Jimin's last location, the voice note still lodged like a thorn in his heart. He remembered the way Jimin used to laugh, head thrown back, eyes crinkling, always 5 seconds from turning a joke into a dance. The Jimin he knew wouldn't run, wouldn't vanish. Unless something had scared him enough to forget who he was. A faint sound reached his ears, a voice, barely above a whisper. Kook. His blood turned to ice. He swung the flashlight in an arc, breath held, heart hammering. Nothing, only crumbling concrete and silence that seemed to lean closer. Then he heard it again, clearer. Jungkook. He spun around. Jimin stood 20 feet away, bathed in shadows. No, not stood, floated. His feet didn't touch the ground. His eyes, God, his eyes were black, like ink spilled across his irises. Jimin, Jungkook stepped forward, voice cracking. A smile spread slowly across Jimin's face, too slow, too wide. The air shifted. And then the lights went out. Total darkness swallowed him. Only the voice remained. Don't trust what you find. And Jungkook realized, too late, that the last line wasn't a warning. It was the truth. Jimin, what the fuck is going on? The darkness was absolute. Jungkook's voice echoed into it, bouncing back like something mocking him from the void. No answer, no movement. Only his breath, ragged and desperate, filled the vacuum of silence. Then click. The light on his phone flickered back on, weak and unstable, like it, too, was afraid of what it was about to reveal. There was no sign of Jimin. Not a footprint, not a sound. Jungkook's pulse pounded in his ears. Was he hallucinating? Was this grief finally catching up to him, distorting his sense of reality? No. He had seen Jimin, the voice, the eyes, the smile that didn't belong to the man he loved, the man he had almost told the truth to, the man he had betrayed. He shook the thought out of his head like water from his hair. There wasn't time for guilt. Not here, not when something was imitating Jimin. The tunnel yawned ahead again, darker now. Every step he took sounded like a betrayal to the silence. But he couldn't stop. Not when that voice still rang in his ears, not when he could still feel the phantom breath of Jimin whispering his name. His phone vibrated. Another voice note. Jimin 00, 17 a.m. Why did you lie to me, Jungkook? You swore it was nothing. Jungkook stopped mid-step, chest hollowing. That wasn't the voice note from earlier. That was new. Hands trembling, he played it. I asked you about the call. You said it was work. But it wasn't work, was it? It was him. You told him where I was. His heart split. That night, 3 months ago, Jimin had overheard him whispering on the phone to someone he promised he had cut off. Jungkook had buried that night deep inside him, hoping the truth would decay quietly like a body left in shallow earth. But it hadn't. The voice note ended with static again, the same kind that filled the silence when someone wanted to scream but didn't. Jimin, he whispered to the emptiness around him. I didn't know they would come for you. I didn't know he would. Another voice cut through the shadows. You always had a thing for ruining people, didn't you, Jungkook? He spun around, the flashlight catching on a silhouette leaning against the wall with a smirk that could slice through metal. Taehyung. Alive, unchanged, but completely out of place. What the hell are you doing here? Taehyung laughed. It wasn't friendly. Same as you, looking for the ghost of someone we both destroyed. Jungkook's fists clenched. Don't play games. You were the one who started all this. You brought them into our lives. And you fed them names, Taehyung snapped. You gave them Jimin. I didn't know they were going to use him. Oh, but you knew who they were. You knew what they do to people. Jungkook looked away. The walls of the tunnel felt like they were closing in. Taehyung walked closer, voice low and bitter. You know why he ran, right? It wasn't fear. It wasn't even betrayal. It was heartbreak. You broke him and he didn't know how to put himself back together. I tried to explain. He didn't need an explanation. He needed the truth. Taehyung leaned in. But you don't give truth, do you? Just pieces of it cut up and served cold. Shut up. You know what I heard, Taehyung said, ignoring him. I heard Jimin isn't dead, not yet, but he's changing. That place, whatever the hell it is, it's rewriting him. Jungkook's throat tightened. Stop. Taehyung smiled. I also heard something else. He's not just becoming someone else. He's remembering things. Things we both tried to forget. A shiver crawled down Jungkook's spine. Taehyung stepped back into the dark, voice trailing like smoke. You wanted to find him? Good luck. But you better pray he doesn't find you first. And then he was gone. Jungkook stood alone again, the silence now louder than any scream. He didn't know what was real anymore. Was Taehyung even there? Was this all just some punishment written by his guilt? But the voice note was real. Jimin's pain was real. The flashlight began to flicker again, then died. Total black. And then a scream. Not his. Jimin's. Close. Too close. Raw, broken, and calling his name. He ran toward it blindly, heart thundering, feet pounding on gravel, breath hitching with every desperate inhale. The scream cut off suddenly. And there he was. Jimin. Standing in the middle of the tunnel again, back turned. Jimin, Jungkook gasped, out of breath, broken wide open. Jimin turned. His face was pale, almost translucent, and his eyes, this time, were his. No shadows. No black ink. Only pain. "Why didn't you protect me, Jungkook?" he asked softly. And then he collapsed into Jungkook's arms, whispering one last sentence before losing consciousness. "They're not done with us. You're freezing." Jungkook's voice trembled as he wrapped his jacket tighter around Jimin's limp body. The boy in his arms wasn't the same one he had kissed under the orange lights of Mapo Bridge 6 months ago. That Jimin had eyes filled with fire. This one felt like ash, cold, weightless, and crumbling. Jimin stirred faintly, groaning. "Don't move. You're safe now," Jungkook whispered, though he wasn't sure it was true. Nothing in that tunnel felt safe, not the air, not the walls, not even time itself. Jimin's hand twitched. "It's lying to you," he murmured. "What is?" "The tunnel," his breath hitched. "It shows you what you want to see and then takes it away." "Jimin, look at me, please." Jimin's eyes fluttered open slowly, and for a moment, Jungkook's world narrowed to those familiar brown irises, glassy and vulnerable. "You're really here," Jimin said, voice cracking. "After everything, why?" Jungkook swallowed the lump in his throat. "Because I never stopped loving you." Jimin blinked. A tear slipped down his cheek, but the expression that followed wasn't relief. It was anguish. "You shouldn't have come back." Before Jungkook could respond, the tunnel around them groaned. Not metaphorically. The walls shifted, the ceiling let out a deep, resonant creak, and the ground beneath them quivered like it was breathing. Jungkook's eyes darted upward. "Shit, we have to move." He hoisted Jimin up, the weight of him alarmingly light, and started toward the only faint light visible in the distance. It flickered like a dying star. Every footstep echoed, like it didn't belong to them. Behind them, the shadows moved. Jimin gripped Jungkook's arm tightly, his voice sharp now, awake. "Don't look behind you. Whatever you do, don't look." "Why?" "Because it wants you too." Jungkook obeyed, barely. He kept his eyes forward, even as the low clicking began, like bones tapping against stone. They reached the light, a rusted steel door embedded in concrete, half buried in moss and time. Jimin reached for the handle but stopped. "It's not the same tunnel we came through," he whispered. "What do you mean?" "I've been here before, but the doors change. The endings do too." Jungkook pushed forward anyway. He had no intention of staying. The door creaked open, revealing a staircase that spiraled upward, cloaked in fog and the faint scent of antiseptic. He turned to Jimin. "Can you walk?" Jimin nodded. "But if we get out, I need you to promise me something." "Anything." "You stop looking for answers." Jungkook frowned. "That's the only reason I'm here. And it's the reason they'll keep pulling you back in." Jungkook didn't ask who they were. He wasn't sure he wanted to know. They climbed. Each step felt heavier than the last. When they reached the top, they emerged into light morning light, soft, real. But the moment Jungkook stepped out, he stopped cold. They weren't in Seoul. At least, not any Seoul he recognized. The skyline was fragmented, bent. Skyscrapers curled into themselves like twisted steel flowers. Billboards flickered in languages he didn't recognize. The air buzzed as if the entire world was running on low-frequency static. "What the hell is this?" Jimin stood beside him, eyes empty. "This is what they made me see, over and over again, every time I tried to escape." "We're not out." Jimin shook his head. "This is another layer, a mirror of the real world, and it's watching how we react." A sudden roar erupted in the distance. Helicopters, or things pretending to be helicopters, swarmed the sky like black insects. Below, the streets were empty. Too empty. Then a voice rang out from above, through invisible speakers. "Welcome, Subject 97 and 98. Phase 2 has begun." Jungkook's blood ran cold. "They know we're here." Jimin's hand found his. And then another voice, one Jungkook hadn't heard in years, echoed from the building next to them. Jungkook, come up, it's been a long time. It was Namjoon. But Namjoon had died. 3 years ago. Car accident, funeral, closed casket, tears. Jimin froze. That's not him. But it sounds like him. It's not him. The voice called again. I know about the voice note. I know what it said. I also know who you're hiding from. Jungkook couldn't breathe. Jimin whispered, he's part of them now. Jungkook turned to face him. Then tell me the truth, all of it now. Jimin's lips parted, but his voice broke as he said, you think I left because you betrayed me, but the truth is worse. He looked away, ashamed. They didn't take me, I went to them, willingly. Jungkook stared, unable to speak. Because I thought I could control it, Jimin continued. I thought if I gave them me, they'd leave you alone. And you didn't think I'd come for you. I prayed you wouldn't. The speakers buzzed again. Subject 97, emotional trigger confirmed, proceeding with memory extraction. A searing pain sliced through Jungkook's head. He screamed, falling to his knees, hands clutching his skull. Images flashed, memories he'd forgotten, moments that weren't real, timelines that didn't belong to him. Jimin screamed too, grabbing Jungkook's face. Fight it, remember who you are. And then everything went white. When Jungkook opened his eyes again, he was no longer on the street. He was standing in their old apartment. Jimin was on the couch, smiling, holding a cup of coffee. Rough day at work. Jungkook blinked. What, where? I missed you, Jimin said, soft and warm exactly like before. Too perfect. Too still. Jungkook stepped back. A single drop of blood trickled from Jimin's nose. And then the smile broke. It's not real, Jungkook whispered. But the dream kept talking. Don't leave me again, Cookie. Stay. Let's go back to the way it was. Behind the perfect facade, something snarled. Jungkook clenched his fists. No. The room dissolved in fire and screaming. And when he woke again, truly this time, he was back in the tunnel. Jimin was gone. But carved into the wall beside him, scrawled in blood, were 5 words. The truth costs your name. And his phone buzzed. New voice note received. Jimin 03:33 a.m. You have to forget me now, or you won't survive what's next. Play it, Taehyung said, emerging from the darkness like a judgment. Jungkook's fingers hovered over the screen, sweat slick on his skin despite the tunnel's unnatural cold. The phone glowed with Jimin's name. No profile picture, no timestamp, just the latest voice note sent at 3:33 a.m., the same cursed hour that always marked the beginning of something ending. I don't trust it, Jungkook muttered. Taehyung leaned against the wall, arms crossed, his eyes unreadable. Since when has that stopped you? Jungkook exhaled shakily. He told me to forget him. And I can't, I fucking won't. Taehyung shrugged. Then play the damn thing. Either he's warning you again. Or he's leading you to whatever version of hell this is. Jungkook tapped it. The voice that came through was distorted, but unmistakably Jimin. Softer this time, like he was fighting something to even get the words out. They're rewriting me. I see your face, and I don't remember if I hate you or love you. I remember pain, but not why. I remember warmth, but not who gave it to me. They said if I don't let go of you, I'll break. Jungkook, please don't make me remember. Then silence. Then one more breath. But if I do break, find my pieces. The message ended, and all sound seemed to vanish from the world with it. Even Taehyung didn't speak right away. Jungkook's voice was raw. He's still in there. Or what's left of him, Taehyung said. You ever think maybe this isn't about saving Jimin? Maybe it's about you letting go of something you want to save, but can't. Don't psychobabble me right now, Taehyung. Fine, Taehyung stepped forward. Then let's talk about the real reason we're down here. You think I didn't know about the deal you made? Jungkook froze. I never made a deal. Oh, but you did. You made a choice. Remember the night he disappeared? You called them, you offered something. You just didn't think it would be him. That wasn't the deal. You're lying to yourself. That's why this place won't let you go. You think you're here to save Jimin. No, you're here to pay your debt. I never would have traded him, Jungkook growled. Taehyung narrowed his eyes. But you did, the moment you said yes to power, to protection, to whatever the hell they promised you to keep you alive when your name hit that list. Jungkook turned away. His knuckles were white against the phone in his hand. Taehyung kept going. Jimin wasn't just taken, Jungkook. He replaced you on the list. The words sliced deeper than a knife. I tried to tell you, Taehyung said, voice softening now. I tried to stop it, but you couldn't let go of your pride long enough to see what it was costing him. The ground trembled. Somewhere deeper in the tunnel, a low, mechanical growl vibrated through the concrete, like the purring of something hungry and ancient. Jungkook finally turned, eyes burning. Then help me fix it. Taehyung gave a bitter laugh. There's no fixing this. Help me anyway. Silence stretched between them. And then Taehyung nodded once. There's a room, deeper than any map goes. They call it the Black Mouth. That's where they bring the fragments, memories, names, voices. They erase what's left and reshape it into something obedient. That's where Jimin is. Taehyung nodded. Or what they're making him into. Jungkook set his jaw. Then that's where I'm going. Then you're going to need this. Taehyung reached into his coat and pulled out a worn cassette recorder. Analog, no network, no signal interference. If Jimin tries to send you anything from the inside, this is the only way it'll come through uncorrupted. Jungkook took it. Taehyung placed a hand on his shoulder. If he doesn't remember you, if he turns on you. I won't run, Jungkook said. Even if he kills me, I'm not leaving him in there. Taehyung hesitated. You still love him that much. Jungkook looked him dead in the eye. I never stopped. The next tunnel was narrow. No lights. The only glow came from faint bioluminescent veins that pulsed along the walls like breathing organisms. The air was thick, oppressive. Every step felt like walking through someone else's dream or nightmare. Halfway through, the cassette clicked. A voice. Jimin's. But this time, not a message. A scream. Long, tortured, echoing from within the recorder like it was coming from his soul itself. Then, suddenly, words. Who am I if you made me? Jungkook clutched the recorder to his chest. Then the walls ahead split open. Not with sound, with presence. A figure stood in the opening. Jimin. But not. His skin was etched with black script, symbols that flickered like they were alive, crawling up his arms. His eyes were half gold, half void. His mouth moved, but the voice that came out was a dozen voices at once. Subject 98 has been integrated. Jungkook stepped forward. Jimin, it's me. The figure tilted its head. Memory mismatch detected. You remember me. You know me. You left the voice notes. You asked me to find your pieces. The eyes flickered. Emotional interference. Rebooting. No, Jungkook shouted, stepping closer. Don't let them take you again. You chose me, remember? You chose to protect me. Let me do the same. For a moment, the figure trembled. Then Jimin's real voice cracked through the many. Cookie. Yes, Jungkook reached for him. Yes, I'm here. But the moment their hands touched, a surge of energy ripped through the air, throwing Jungkook back against the tunnel wall. He gasped, eyes wide as Jimin screamed again, this time torn between the entity inside him and the fragments of the boy who once loved. Taehyung's voice echoed from behind. If you pull him out now, it'll kill him. Jungkook struggled to his knees, bleeding, coughing. Then tell me what to do. Taehyung's eyes were filled with regret. You give him a reason to come back. Not a memory, not a voice note, a truth. Jungkook's voice broke. I lied to you, Jimin, that night. The call, it was about you. I knew they were looking. I knew you were a target, but I was scared. I didn't know how to protect you without giving them something, so I gave them my fear, and they took you. Jimin screamed, body flickering between forms. But I swear to you, I never meant to lose you. I never meant to be the one who broke you. I would give everything, just to hear your laugh again. Silence. Then, a spark. A flicker. Jimin's body collapsed, the symbols vanishing. Jungkook crawled forward, cradling him, trembling with sobs. And this time, the voice was clear. I remember the bridge, your heartbeat, the way you said my name when you thought I was asleep. He looked up at Jungkook, eyes wet and human. I never wanted to forget you. You didn't, Jungkook whispered. And for the first time in what felt like forever. Jimin smiled. Why are you crying? Jimin's voice was barely audible, but it was enough to make Jungkook freeze. He hadn't realized tears had escaped him until the warmth of one slid past his lips, bitter with dust and salt. I thought I lost you, Jungkook said. I did lose you, you just forgot. Jimin blinked slowly, as if waking from a nightmare he wasn't ready to leave. I didn't forget. I was made to forget. There's a difference. He tried to sit up, but his body shook. Jungkook caught him before he collapsed, gently easing him back against the cold tunnel floor. His skin was still warm, too warm, like a fever caused by something that didn't belong in this world. They're still inside me, Jimin whispered. I can feel them watching, waiting for you to make a mistake. I won't, Jungkook said. Not again. A voice echoed from the tunnel's depths, taunting, cold, intimate. Oh, Jungkook, but you always do. Jungkook stiffened. He recognized it immediately, not because he had heard it recently, but because it belonged to someone he thought was long dead. Yoongi. Jimin's eyes widened. No, it's not him. It can't be. The voice laughed. Sweet that you think you know who I am. Jungkook stood, shielding Jimin behind him, body tense, heart hammering against his ribs. Show yourself, he demanded. Out of the shadows stepped Yoongi, or the shape of him. He looked the same on the surface, sharp eyes, lazy posture, that ever-ironic smirk. But something was off. His eyes were too black, like the pupils had consumed everything else. His shadow didn't match his body. It moved faster than him, like it wanted out. I'm not your Yoongi, the figure said. I'm what's left after truth is eaten. Jimin tried to rise, but his breath caught. Why him? Why that face? Because guilt tastes better when it's familiar, Yoongi said. And you too reek of it. Don't listen to it, Jimin warned, gripping Jungkook's wrist. They twist memories. They use your past against you. Jungkook's jaw clenched. Why Yoongi? Because he knew the truth before either of you did, the entity said. He knew the voice note would come. He knew Jungkook would trade a name. And he knew that Jimin wouldn't survive what came next. You're lying. Yoongi smiled. Am I? Jungkook took a step forward. Yoongi died before any of this started. No, Jungkook. He died because you started it. A memory slammed into him like a freight train. The night he'd made the call. Not to the handlers, not to the organization, but to Yoongi. Do I do it? He had asked, voice shaking. And Yoongi, ever calm, ever calculated, had said one sentence. If you love him, you'll never let him know what it cost. Jungkook's breath left him. Good, the thing wearing Yoongi said. You remember now. Jimin's grip tightened. Don't believe it. You did what you thought would keep me safe. But it didn't, Jungkook said, eyes glassy. It destroyed everything. The tunnel began to pulse, walls breathing like lungs, floor vibrating with a rhythm too slow to be human. The entity circled them slowly. You don't understand what he gave us, it said. A name isn't just identification, it's meaning, weight, memory. When Jungkook gave your name in his place, he gave us the foundation to rebuild something new. Is that what this is? Jimin asked, rising slowly, fury burning behind his eyes. Rebuilding, with our bones. Yoongi's smirk widened into something monstrous. Your love was the perfect material, so raw, so conflicted. You used us. We studied you, and then we built a better version. Jungkook stepped forward. Then why are you here now, if we're so replaceable? The shadows stilled. Because your bond survived the edit. That's problematic. Suddenly the tunnel convulsed. The walls screamed, not with sound but with voices. Hundreds of them. Thousands. Calling names. Begging to be remembered. Taehyung appeared behind them, breathing hard, gun drawn. Not that it would help much. "They're trying to collapse the layer," he shouted. "We need to move now." "But what about?" Jungkook turned toward Yoongi, but the entity was gone. Jimin looked to the tunnel's end. "Where does it lead?" Taehyung gritted his teeth. "To the archive, the place where all extracted memories are kept." Jungkook's heart jumped. "Can we get yours back?" "Maybe," Taehyung said. "But it'll cost you. Memory trades are irreversible. You give up something to get something back." "Then take mine," Jungkook said instantly. "Whatever it takes." "No," Jimin shouted. Jungkook turned to him. "You don't get it, I gave them you. If this is how I undo it, then let me." Jimin grabbed his face, forcing him to look at him. "You give them something else, and you won't be you anymore. I want you, all of you. Not some hollow shell who remembers me but forgets himself." Taehyung cursed under his breath. "We don't have time for a lover's debate. Either we go now or we die here." Jimin hesitated, then nodded. They ran. The final tunnel wasn't a tunnel at all. It was a bridge, floating above nothing. A void of stars and unspoken things. Beneath them, flickers of memory danced like dying fireflies. At the center of the bridge stood a monolithic door, carved with names. Jungkook reached for the handle. A voice stopped him. "You open that door, and you'll never see the world the same way again." It was Yoongi again, or the echo of him. Jungkook didn't turn. Then maybe the world never deserved to be seen clearly. He opened it. Inside was light. And in the center, floating above a crystalline platform, was a glowing orb, flickering between forms. Jimin's childhood. Jimin's laughter. Jimin's tears. His memories. Jungkook stepped forward. "What do I trade?" A voice answered from within the light. "Your voice." Jungkook froze. "What?" "Your voice. Your ability to speak your love, your grief, your guilt. That's the price." Jimin whispered behind him. "No, don't, please, I just got you back." Jungkook turned to him. "You saved me once, let me do the same." And without another word, he touched the light. A searing pain erupted through his throat. He screamed, but no sound came out. Jimin screamed with him, catching his body as it collapsed. When Jungkook opened his eyes, the orb was gone. The world shimmered. And Jimin was crying in his arms, whispering his name over and over. "I remember," he sobbed. "I remember everything." Jungkook smiled, lips trembling. But no sound came out, not even a whisper. Jimin cupped his face, forehead against his. "I don't need your voice," he said, breaking. "Just don't leave me again." Jungkook nodded, tears falling silently. And in that silence, the world began to change. Jimin couldn't stop staring at him. The tears had long dried on his cheeks, but his breath still trembled every time he looked into Jungkook's eyes, those same eyes that once used to speak everything without words. Now forced to do exactly that. "You're too quiet," Jimin whispered as they moved through the now-silent archive chamber, its blinding light slowly fading behind them, replaced by a vast hallway carved from obsidian, stretching endlessly. Jungkook gave him a half-smile, but it was tight, tired. He signed something with his fingers. Jimin knew a little enough to catch the meaning. "You remember, that's enough." "No," Jimin said, voice sharp. "It's not like this, I didn't ask for this." Jungkook shook his head. His thumb brushed the corner of Jimin's mouth, wiping away what remained of his grief. He mouthed a word carefully. "Worth it." Taehyung followed silently behind, more withdrawn than usual. His eyes lingered too long on the walls. Not paranoia, recognition. "You've been here before," Jimin said suddenly, narrowing his gaze on him. Taehyung didn't answer. "Taehyung," Jimin pressed, stepping between him and Jungkook. "You knew how to get to the archive. You had the recorder. You've known more than you've said, this whole time." Taehyung rubbed the back of his neck and exhaled sharply. Yeah, he admitted finally. I was one of the first test subjects, before you two ever got involved. Jungkook tensed. Jimin was seething, and you didn't think that was worth mentioning. You weren't ready to know. We were bleeding for answers, T. Do not call me that like we're still friends, Taehyung snapped. You want the truth? Fine, I made it out once before, but not all of me came back. What does that even mean? Jimin asked. Taehyung gestured at the walls. This place eats identity, chews through it like acid. You think it's just memories being extracted, but it's deeper than that. It takes your definitions. What makes you you? I came back with the name Taehyung, but I didn't recognize my own reflection for 6 months. He looked at Jungkook. You just traded your voice, that was your anchor, and now. He didn't finish. Jimin looked at Jungkook, panic creeping in. Is that true? Are you slipping? Jungkook didn't answer, couldn't. But the flicker in his eyes, the hesitation in his step, it was enough. We have to get him out, Jimin said. Now. Taehyung shook his head. You don't just leave the archive. It decides when you've paid enough, and something tells me it's not done with us. The hallway suddenly shifted. A gust of cold air hit them like a tidal wave, and the floor beneath their feet shimmered into obsidian glass, revealing what lay beneath. Bodies. Thousands. Suspended like puppets in fluid, each with a name carved into their chest. Names Jimin recognized. Friends, enemies, strangers. People who had once passed them on the street, smiled at cafes, stood behind microphones and cameras. People they thought were alive. Free. They're not dead, Jimin breathed. They're preserved. Taehyung's voice was grim. Their memory vaults. Every person in here gave up something to this place. Some willingly. Others, he looked down, jaw clenched, not. Jungkook touched the glass wall. A body drifted into view. His own face stared back at him. Jimin gasped. What the? It's not him, Taehyung said. That's his template. They keep backups, in case they want to overwrite something again. Jimin stumbled back, suddenly nauseous. They planned this, all of it. Of course they did, a voice purred from behind them. They turned, and standing there, draped in a suit of shadows and wires, was Seokjin. Jimin's knees nearly buckled. You're dead, he whispered. Seokjin's smile was cruel. I was never alive, not in the way you knew me. Jungkook stared at him, recognition and revulsion battling in his expression. Seokjin stepped forward. I was your handler. I watched every moment, every breath, every failure, and I warned them, don't let Jungkook fall in love. Jimin stepped between them. What do you want? I want him to remember what he gave up, Seokjin said, eyes locked on Jungkook. You think love is noble, that sacrifice purifies guilt. No, it binds you, weakens you. He waved his hand, and the hallway around them split open, revealing more versions of Jungkook and Jimin, each living out a different narrative in looped repetition. One where Jimin never disappeared. One where Jungkook never made the call. One where they were enemies. One where they never met. This is what could have been, Seokjin said. Infinite variations, you chose the one with pain. Because love isn't safe, Jimin growled. It never was, but it's real. Seokjin's smile faltered. Jungkook stepped forward slowly, raising the cassette recorder. He played the last recording Jimin had left, the one with the words, "Find my pieces." The hallway trembled. Seokjin hissed, "Stop." Jungkook played it again. The walls rippled. The bodies below stirred. The recording played a third time, and this time, the voices of all the other Jimin and Jungkook versions merged into one, chanting the same phrase. Find my pieces, find my pieces, find my pieces. The hallway cracked. Seokjin screamed, but it wasn't a human sound. It was mechanical, shrieking, collapsing under the weight of unraveling realities. Jimin grabbed Jungkook's hand. Taehyung activated a flare he'd kept hidden, throwing it down into the glass floor. It shattered. They fell through the archive, through memory, through noise and silence, fire and ash. And then black. When they woke, They were lying in a field. Real wind, real grass. The sun was rising. Birds were singing. But Jungkook wasn't breathing. Jungkook, Jimin shook him. Hey, no, you don't get to leave now. Taehyung was already on his knees, checking pulse, eyes wide. He's here but faint. Jimin cupped Jungkook's face, tears falling freely again. Come on, wake up, wake the fuck up. I didn't come back for this. You don't get to die like some tragic metaphor. Jungkook's eyes fluttered open. But when he looked at Jimin, there was no recognition. Just quiet confusion. Jimin felt his world collapse in on itself. Jungkook. No answer. Taehyung looked up slowly, expression hollow. He traded the last piece. And Jimin broke. Jimin sat in the grass, cradling Jungkook's body as if holding him tightly could stitch back everything that had come undone. The sunrise bathed them in gold, too gentle, too peaceful, almost mocking the chaos they had crawled out of. Jungkook blinked slowly, eyes searching Jimin's face for something he could no longer name. Do you know me? Jimin asked, voice barely a breath. Jungkook tilted his head, calm, innocent, like someone who had just been born. His lips moved, soundless, forming syllables he didn't understand. I'm Jimin, he whispered. You called me Minnie when you wanted to make me laugh. You always did the dishes because I hated getting my hands prunny. You kissed me the first time right here. He took Jungkook's hand and placed it over his heart, and I've never been the same. Jungkook blinked again. Nothing. The boy who had once promised the stars in silence now stared at them like they were strangers. He's in there, Taehyung said gently, crouching beside them. But he's locked behind the price he paid. You got your memories, Jimin, but he gave up his identity to give them back to you. The archive took his name from him. Jimin closed his eyes. Then I'll remind him. Every day. Every hour. Until it sinks in again. Taehyung stood, brushing dirt from his knees. I'll give you space, but Jimin, he hesitated. What you two did, it rewrote more than your own story. The system's down. The archive collapsed. The network been silenced. No more voices being extracted. You broke the cycle. Jimin nodded absently, still holding Jungkook close. Taehyung took a step back. The world will wake up different tomorrow. Some people might remember things they shouldn't. Others won't remember at all. But you'll have to decide who Jungkook becomes now. I don't want to make that decision for him. You already have, Taehyung said, voice soft. By loving him this much. He walked off toward the horizon, slowly disappearing into the golden morning. Jungkook stirred, his fingers twitching in Jimin's. He looked up at the man holding him, confused, cautious, curious. What are you crying? He asked, voice hoarse, his first words. Jimin's heart nearly stopped. You remember me. Jungkook looked at him, brows furrowed. No, he said honestly. Then, but I feel like I should. Jimin smiled through his tears. That's okay, we'll start over. He leaned in, brushing his lips gently against Jungkook's forehead. We have all the time in the world now. And for the first time since the voice note, since the betrayal, since the world began to unravel, silence wasn't terrifying. It was peaceful. It was healing. Because even without memory, even without names or voices, something remained. Something deeper. And as the sun lifted over a world, finally free from the voices that stole it, Jimin whispered the name that had saved him. Jungkook. And this time, Jungkook smiled.